Hey friends, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network. Today is Saturday, September 22nd, excuse me, and I'm currently at an airport in LA, but I just wanted to check in for some updates on some news before we get into this story about Google and Apple and China and really what you need to be concerned about and hopefully paying attention to. I want to remind you guys that I'm completely listener supported, viewer supported. I have no help from anywhere else. I'm not getting paid to write anymore. There's just all of the opportunities for independent media have dried up, unfortunately. And if you'd like to support me, I would like to recommend you checking out my Patreon account, patreon.com/DerrickBroze. And if you see recently I made some updates, I'm going to be continuing to release mini documentaries like our recent The Modern Surveillance State and our upcoming documentary Bringing Down Jeffrey Epstein. And I'm trying to get up to $250 per mini documentary, which would pay my editor. And any extra money after that will go into my pocket to help me continue doing this. So please do. And now let's go ahead and get into the news for this video. Google suppresses memo revealing plans to closely track search users in China. This is the latest. Now, in the past 2 weeks, really the past couple months, there's been a lot of new information coming out and the way that Google, and we're going to talk about Apple as well, and other companies, Facebook, are willing to work in China and censor their products. So let's take a look at this. Now, the most recent news from The Intercept shows that apparently Google bosses recently forced employees to delete a confidential memo that was circulated inside the company, which was revealing details about their upcoming search engine that they're building for China, which will, by the way, be censored and will block out information about human rights and about activists and about peace and democracy and all kinds of words that the communist authoritarian regime finds very offensive, right? So this project is codenamed Dragonfly, and it would require users to log in to perform their searches, which obviously could track their location, and then that information could be shared with Chinese authorities, which could lead to all kinds of problems for activists and for journalists and people who are still in China trying to challenge the regime. So this memo was apparently shared earlier this month among a group of Google employees who have been apparently organizing internal protests over the censored search system, which, as I said, was designed to remove content that the Chinese Communist Party regime finds sensitive or not to their liking. So 3 sources told The Intercept that Google leadership discovered this memo and were furious that secret details about China's censorship were being passed between employees who were not supposed to have any knowledge about it, because it's a very tightly guarded secret that they keep among their different teams in the company. And so Google Human Resources personnel emailed employees who were believed to have access or saved copies of the memo and ordered them to immediately delete it from their computers. And apparently emails demanding of the memo contained what they called pixel trackers that notified human resource managers when their messages had been read. So they're tracking their own employees, which is, I think, an interesting thing to know, which any big company is going to have some level of security, especially a tech company. But it is interesting to note that they are very tightly guarding this secret to work with this authoritarian regime and to censor their internet over there. So the Dragonfly memo, which was revealed a couple weeks ago, showed that Google is building a prototype of a censored search engine that's being developed for Android and for iPhones. And as The Intercept reported last week, these searches would be associated with a person's phone number. So as I said, they could easily track them and connect it to an IP address and go after them if they really wanted to. And if you go on here, you read this, it says that the search engine will blacklist sensitive inquiries where no results will be shown. So Google's more than happy to participate in that. And this includes phrases like human rights, student protests, Nobel Prize, things like that. And according to this memo, the Chinese partner company that's helping with this could add to the censorship blacklist as they choose. So they add more words or topics whenever they want. And The Intercept notes that human rights groups have expressed that Dragonfly could place users at risk of Chinese government surveillance, which everybody over there, just like the U.S., in case you didn't know, is already under government surveillance. But this is just another step towards controlling the internet and making it clear that you have rights online and that they can track you and find you. And this has been going on, as I said, for a couple weeks. It says August 16th, The Intercept revealed the Dragonfly plan. Shortly after that, Google CEO Sundar Pichai told the company's employees that the China plan was in its early stages and exploratory, so he's trying to play it down. However, employees who talked to The Intercept who are working on this search engine were apparently instructed in late July that the project was in a launch-ready state, which would be rolling out in a couple of weeks. So obviously Google is lying to the public and to the media. And yeah, there are apparently 215 employees who appear to have been tasked to working on Dragonfly, and that is one of the larger Google projects. And it's been a secret from the start, they say. So this is interesting. You know, once people found out about it, once it got out, a memo started to be circulated on internal messaging lists for Google employees, and then the memo was soon scrubbed, and everybody who was associated, who read it, who opened it, was contacted and told to delete it immediately. And another interesting thing, it says that Google reportedly maintains an aggressive security and investigation team known as Stop Leaks, which is dedicated to preventing unauthorized disclosures. And if you look into this a little bit further, Stop Leaks, who is Stop Leaks? What is this? What is this? You know, this team on Google? Their whole goal is designed to keep sensitive things like this censored search engine and the recent Project Maven, which caused a lot of flap within Google, because essentially Google is willing to build a automated image recognition system for drone warfare, so like a facial recognition, image recognition that's going to be used in drones. Google's building that, and their team Stop Leaks is a look at this team Stop Leaks, and it says that on LinkedIn, Google's head of global investigations is Joseph Vincent, who was a former high-ranking agent at ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, under Homeland Security's investigation unit. And the head of Google security is Chris Rakow, who's described himself as a former member of the FBI's hostage rescue team and a former U.S. Navy SEAL. So obviously Google, it's another example of Google working close with the intelligence and security agencies within the U.S. government, and more evidence that they're willing to censor their products and their effort to get into the Chinese economy. Obviously there's a lot of people, there's a lot of money to be had, and this is the excuse that most of the world has made for generations now, for decades, that they must be an economic partner, and regardless of their human rights violations, etc. And now, just another little bit on Google. This was also revealed in the last couple days. Google says it still allows third parties to scan and share your Gmail data. So if you're still using Gmail for whatever stupid reason, here's another reason if you need one. And another tidbit, former Google chief Eric Schmidt says that he predicts that the internet will split by 2028. Within 10 years, he says there will be a Chinese web and an American web. So it's interesting, though, because he says, like, of course, the Chinese web will be the censored version, and the American one will be the more free version. I think that he's probably lying here, because the truth is that what's taking place in China, these companies, Google, Facebook, if they're willing to do it in the Chinese market, you better believe that they would do it over here as soon as the U.S. government has enough power and enough sleeping people to take that opportunity to do so. And, of course, it does mention, again, the Intercept article about the search engine. It mentions that 6 U.S. senators recently wrote a letter last month describing Google's potential return to China as deeply troubling. And of course, Google employees have continued to protest where and how they can. And this last one here is just another interesting tidbit. It's about Apple, but it's related to this whole thing now. You may remember the recent stories where it was revealed that Facebook actually gives their users a trust score, rating them on trustworthiness on a scale of 0 to 1, and that helps them decide, I guess, different things, whether or not they allow their stories to reach the top of people's timelines, or whether they suppress them using the algorithm. And now we know that Apple is now giving people trust scores based on their calls and emails, and this is some crazy stuff. It says that tech website VentureBeat recently reported that Apple's promise of transparency regarding user data means that any new privacy policy update might reveal that it's doing something new and weird with your data. Alongside yesterday's release of new Apple products, Apple quietly updated some of the iTunes Store terms and privacy disclosures, including one standout provision. It's now using an abstracted summary of your phone calls or emails as an anti-fraud measure. So it says in order to help and identify and prevent fraud, information about how you use your device, including the approximate number of phone calls or emails you send and receive, will be used to compute a device trust score when you attempt a purchase. And it's unclear how long Apple's been going to collect this data and when they actually started doing this. But this, again, is just another part of the move towards a Chinese Sesame credit style system. This is what's going to happen all over the world, though. This is part of the smart grid. This is part of the 5G rollout. I'm in Houston, and Houston is one of the test cities that's rolling out by the end of the year. Once they get the 5G system in grid and control and moving, and as more and more people are calling for government regulating the internet to keep us safe or to stop censorship and all the different ways they're tricking people to call for making these companies public utilities, it's only going to be one step closer towards putting the government control of social media and of the internet and being able to block people out. We saw recently, you know, they're banning Alex Jones everywhere, taking him off PayPal, taking him off Twitter and all those things. I don't care about Alex Jones, honestly, because I care about those of us who don't have the resources like him to be able to continue what we do. So if you care about what's going on, if you care about what is happening to the independent media and to activists, please do check out our work. TheConsciousResistance.com. You can always follow us here for all of our latest updates and latest videos. I'm keeping it very up to date currently. And as I mentioned, we're starting to release mini documentaries. If you want to support us, please go to patreon.com/Derrick Broze. You can always send me crypto. You can always send PayPal. Any way to help us keep going, if you appreciate this work, is very much appreciated from me. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.